Nation.
Let's go, baby.
Welcome into DNVR Buffs Primetime, a very special edition today.
Yes, sir.
We're presented by Illegal Pete's, everyone's go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beers. Let's bring him in, Alyssa. Josh Newberg of On3 joins the show. Josh, thank you so much for hopping in, man. Appreciate it.
Oh man, I'm so blessed to have the invite. I'm a huge fan of what you guys do. Love it. Started really picking up on it while Coach Prime's been here. But your guys' sets are amazing. You guys sound amazing. Love the way that you ride for the Buffaloes. Love it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us, man. And let's just cut right to it. We in Buff Nation have gained a lot of enemies in the last 2 days. And that's great because that means we have a chance to potentially squash some beef, as you alluded to. So let's just get it out there. Does On3 hate the Buffs?
Well, no, I'm glad. First of all, no. And second of all, I'm glad that we can get on here and talk beef because I love beef, and especially with other media entities. And when I had Jake on, I listened to your guys' show afterward, and Jake mentioned that the beef was squashed. So I was a little disappointed to hear that because if there was a beef, I would have loved to know that I was participating in it. So before we get going, could we just recap exactly where it began and what it was about? Because I would have loved to be there for it.
Ooh, do you have an idea? Because I think I have one.
You go ahead then.
I think it started when Cormani McClain committed to Colorado, and then his rating on On3 dropped.
Yeah, the fans.
You should join Miami fans in that one because he was already dropped before he committed to Colorado. We were actually a little bit lower on him the entire time, and I think what happened was maybe the industry ranking didn't change, but the On3 ranking had already been set. When I sit at the desk, we go by the On3 industry ranking. So if we have Cormani as a 4-star in the On3 rankings, I still refer to him as a 5-star on the show. So, the On3 rankings are important, but we talk, we tweet, we do all that with the On3 industry ranking, which is basically the average of all 4.
Makes sense to me. Also, that one doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, you got it right.
But no, we have a little bit of fun with it, obviously. What I said the other day is that the same way I wouldn't want, something Jake said to be associated with me, that one's actually more close. Maybe someone on our Nuggets show to get tied to me. Not everyone at On3 is coming from the same position. And I feel like in the last couple of days, you guys have actually been pretty positive towards Colorado. So that's why I'm ready to squash the beef.
Yeah, I'm glad the beef is squashed. But for those people that are familiar with what we do at On3, at least on the On3 Recruits channel, I cover recruiting, right? So I'm just kind of telling the story of recruiting. And we've probably done 50 Colorado videos. I'd say 90% of them are based on, big names visiting Colorado, big names trending to Colorado intel coming out of the weekend. I don't think we really have any recruiting videos where we're talking about like Buffs recruiting not living up to the hype or Buffs recruiting falling apart. And the thing about recruiting, and the reason I love covering recruiting, is because it's such a roller coaster ride. Like any team out there, every team has their own ups and downs throughout the year. The thing about recruiting is in one moment, you can feel like nothing's going wrong. We're going to land everybody. And then all of a sudden in the next moment, they're gone. We're not getting anybody. And I just love, the emotions of the entire cycle. So in its entirety, you get to see, I'm just telling the story of what's happening. And yes, there's ups and there's downs. And to deny that there's ever downs, you're just not really in tune with what recruiting is all about. Because even Alabama, heck, I was covering recruiting when Alabama won a national championship. The confetti was falling down. And one of their defensive linemen flipped from Alabama to Florida State. Like anything's possible in recruiting in that moment, so I think Colorado recruiting is very interesting, and I just love telling the story of it. And there's some ups and there's some downs.
Well, and you guys got Steve Wiltfong joining you guys, who we've always been on great terms with. So All right, Jake. I wanted to talk drama. You wanted to talk ball. So
Of course.
I'll let you
No.
get
Let's
started.
keep shots fired. Let's go.
I mean, you asked me about Julian Lewis, Josh. What's the latest you've heard on him? What will it take for him to flip from USC to Colorado?
Man, this one's going to go the distance. I think all these little points of contact are very important, like getting them on campus multiple times makes Colorado a real player for him. When you talk real players, I'm talking Alabama, Auburn, USC. Georgia is out of it at this point because they decided to go a different direction and land Ryan Montgomery. So these visits are critical, but that the official visits are going to be where it's at. And I just love where Colorado positioned themselves. I know, 5 years ago, maybe before NIL, having that last visit was way more important. I know, NIL kind of levels the playing field a little bit with visits, but I still like the fact that they have them at the end of that month in June. Because I think as a quarterback, you're going to want to know where you're going, especially as a potential franchise quarterback, because you can help build a recruiting class around you. So if you're Juju Lewis and at the very end you slide off to another school, you're not really maximizing the players that could be around you. So I think at some point Juju Lewis is going to calm this thing down. I think it'll be after his official visits, whether that be right before the season starts or maybe at the end of June, but I think he's going to come to a quote unquote final decision. Yes, I know USC fans, they're in my mentions all the time, but as long as Julian Lewis is taking visits, I'm talking about him. Like if Julian Lewis shuts it down and he's not taking visits and he's no longer fielding phone calls from opposing coaches, then I'm not going to be talking about him. So as long as he's out there making waves, going on these visits, then he's fair game.
What do you think it's going to come down to for him? What do you think Colorado needs to do or can do to swing this thing into their favor?
Win. Winning's always, in recruiting, you have NIL, you have relationships, you have all these different things. But let's face it, winning matters. Winning's the biggest tool for recruiting. I think if Coach Prime can go out and improve on what they did last year, if they can make a bowl game, I think that's huge, and just show the long-term plan. Everybody wants to know, is he going to be there after Shedeur? What's the vibe like come October, November around the program? And, I think if everything's moving in the right direction, you got Juju Lewis on board, I mean, you can really start building the future if Prime kind of plants that flag and says, this is it. And I think Juju is kind of the piece that makes it all come together.
Last one on Juju for me is, doesn't he feel like the perfect heir to the throne for Shedeur in terms of, this next quarterback class, just like the kind of the way that he is? I feel like he and Coach Prime would be such a perfect match together. Yeah,
at least on Colorado's board, he is, because I don't think, and there's only probably a handful of quarterbacks, period, that could come in and play next year. And the fact that Colorado's in on one of those very few and has a very good shot to land, yeah, I mean, I think he's vitally important, the most important recruit, maybe outside of, recruiting Travis Hunter to Colorado.
Yep. Josh, you asked me about this when you had me on the Inside Scoop about the atmosphere and everything that happened for the Colorado spring game. How would you say that resonated with a lot of those recruits who are out there? Zaire Addison, Nick Brooks. I want to ask you about Byron Lewis at some point too, but how do you think that weekend resonated with those guys?
I think it kind of goes back to what we talked about with Lewis and these foundational visits. For Byron Lewis and some of these guys that made their very first visit to Boulder, I mean, I think that's huge. So now it's can we get them back for that official visit? And I think you have a much better chance to get a Zaire Addison, to get a Byron Lewis back on campus once you get them kind of to a spring game where there's that type of atmosphere. I think it's going to be hard to pull the guys out of Florida just because they've been being recruited by those teams in the South for 2.5, 3 years already. They will get some, Colorado's been successful in the state of Georgia. I think going into the state of Florida, though, and pulling some of those top guys, it's going to be a little tougher. But, hey, go out and win some ball games. That'll do it.
Where do you stand on the future of recruiting? Because my kind of thought on this is Coach Prime has taken a lot of heat for mostly focusing on the transfer portal. And a lot of people, use those high school recruiting rankings against him. But I happen to think that he's kind of on the cutting edge of where this is going, which is a lot of teams, other than the Blue Bloods who know they're going to get a class full of 4 and 5 stars every year, are going to start taking that model of, maybe 70, 80% through the portal and 20, 30% through high school.
I think in a situation where Colorado's at now, those numbers probably match up a little bit more. But I don't think that the best players, the players that get you to a national championship, the very best, are going in the portal. A good example of this is what Florida State has done. Florida State took a program Mike Norvell took a program that was in shambles, that needed a complete roster rebuild, just like Colorado, and he used the portal to get there. Well, the portal, I think, gets you so far. Did it upgrade the roster? Heck yeah. Did they get to where they? Yes, but do they truly have those elite players when you're watching a national championship game and you're seeing who the stars of that game are? A lot of them, most of them, were recruited out of high school. Like, you look at Georgia, a lot of their starters on that D-line, like, they were recruited out of high school. Georgia didn't get that D-line from the transfer portal. Now, the transfer portal can upgrade a bad roster, but can it get a good roster to become great? That's unknown right now.
I guess the thing that I look at, and this hasn't started happening at a high level yet, but is with unlimited transfers, you have these guys who are showing up on campus, as early enrollees and entering the portal a couple weeks later. And I can't imagine a coach who, spent all this time, traveled around the country trying to recruit a guy, finally lands him, feels like he did his job. And then those guys, you start losing those guys. I just feel like there's a chance. And I think you're right about the Georgias and the Alabamas, but the next tier of teams start saying, okay, well, it's a lot easier to go into the portal and get guys who know what they want, and you don't have to spend nearly as much resources to get them on board.
Yes and no. Portal players at the highest level are very expensive, even just for a 1-year rental. Whereas recruits, you can bring them in at a lower. So I do understand what you're saying, and I do think Colorado is still in a position where they need to use the portal. They can still there's still players in the portal that are better than what's on Colorado's roster. But if we're talking in year 5, in year 6 of Coach Prime, I don't think you're going to be using the portal as much. I think you got to start bringing in some really good talent through the high school level, because it even comes around in the portal. You see a lot of guys that maybe picked, Auburn over Tennessee, going back to Tennessee on their first transfer because those were the relationships that they had. Those coaches knew them the best, made them all these promises. Now it's like, hey, let's go back. You saw Caden Proctor with Iowa. So I do think that, even though he's back in Alabama, but I do think that those relationships that you make in recruiting will also pay off in the transfer portal. Without a doubt, I've already seen it happen.
To go along with that, Josh, you guys have Colorado ranked as the #1 transfer class again this year. We talked on the insights.
I got a question for you guys. Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a better question. Do you think Coach Prime needs to go to Carrollton, Georgia, and do an in-home visit with Juju Lewis?
No.
I agree. I don't think so either.
Okay. Here's why I think he does. You can learn a lot being on the ground. And I'm from Florida, and I covered Cormani McClain since he was a freshman. I think if Coach Prime went to Lakeland, Florida, and he walked in Lake Gibson High School and said, I know you guys coached Cormani McClain for 3 years, and he's transferred on to Lakewood, but would you mind sitting down with me for 15 minutes and just talking about Cormani McClain as a person, as a student, as an athlete? Then he walks over to Lakeland High School and see what they have to say, going over to his mom's house and sitting down for dinner. I think some of the most valuable things that you can learn about an athlete, you learn on those visits in the streets, at the school, in the home.
I think there could be something to be said for it. And I think that if Coach Prime viewed Juju as this is an absolute, this is the one, this is the one that we absolutely have to have, then I think he could use that as almost his ace in the hole of saying, look, I'm giving you the official in-home visit because it's something that I haven't done for anyone else, because you're that important. I think that type of, playing that card, I think it could be valuable.
Yeah.
But I don't think
I'm
he
just
needs
saying,
to.
I think there's also a reason why these coaches are on the road in the schools. Like you learn about the player you're getting. And there's a lot of people in Lakeland that were willing to talk about Cormani McClain off the record. A lot of people. The things that we heard, the things that I heard coming out of Colorado afterward were the same exact things that I heard about Cormani McClain in high school. And I think you just got to get on the ground and talk to the right people, and you find those things out. And I think in recruiting, you're spending, like you guys said, time, money, resources. All of them are limited in recruiting. You don't have unlimited anything in recruiting. So getting on the ground and finding out as much as you can about a player that you're putting in your system, I think there's value in that. And I think to just ditch the whole thing, I mean, it's just, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
To me, it's just that Coach Prime is so different from any other coach. And I believe two things to be true on this. One, I really do believe the guys want to come to Colorado. And I also understand what you're saying about you can learn different stuff on in-home visits. But I think that when guys are interested in Colorado, they want to come see it. They've seen it on the videos. They've seen everything that's going on down there. They want to come down and kind of experience the vibe and see the mountains and whatever it is. And then I also think it's true when Coach Prime says, hey man, if I go to one school, I got to go to the next school. And if I don't go to the next school, they're going to say, well, why didn't you come to this school?
I don't think that's true.
I think it is.
That's true.
I think that
no. Nick Saban in the South. Nick Saban is as big of a celebrity as anybody. And he doesn't walk into every school. And those coaches don't blackball him. They don't get offended. And if they do get offended, so what? But they're not going to blackball him. They're not going to blackball Coach Prime if he doesn't walk into their school. He's there to recruit a kid.
I think that there's a lot of feelings that get involved with someone of the caliber of Coach Prime. But it's okay for us to disagree on this.
Josh, I was just going to ask you, number one transfer portal class on the On3 rankings you guys have, just expectations for this year. What do you think this year looks like for Coach Prime and all these transfers?
I mean, you just got to hope they can make a bowl game. I mean, you want to see what happened at the end of last year. I think you want to avoid the depth, the lack of depth, right? And that's what Coach Prime said is the main objective in the transfer portal. You're looking for backups. And I think that if they can avoid, you saw what happened when that offensive line started to get injured midseason. I mean, it was just a sharp decline, and that's due to a lack of depth at key positions. And, they're doing it now. Didn't they just land an offensive lineman as we were logging in here?
Yeah, Ethan Boyd, Michigan State offensive lineman.
So, I mean, you guys are the experts. Do you think that they've added considerable depth to kind of avoid the collapses at certain positions? I guess because at the top level, they got a lot of talent.
I think they did. I think offensive line-wise, they got enough guys, and they got young guys too. Zechariah Owens, Peyton Kirkland, the Texas guy. Like, these are younger guys who can also kind of be molded and developed for the future. But, you bring in guys like Khalil Benson, Justin Mayers, who are that older, these are 22, 23-year-old young men who are, they can be just dominant when it comes to the age difference and the size difference and how much they've been able to grow their bodies basically in that time. I think that that's something that is going to factor in this season a lot.
Yeah, I think the size, you're right. I think size and, beyond ability, Colorado did lack some size last year. And I think that they did a great job everybody they landed at the high school level, I think is what you want that program to be developed into, right? Like the Jordan Seatons and the Cam Michaels and some of those players. And that's why I think, you don't sleep on recruiting at the high school level, because just because the transfer portal can help you right away, so can the high school level, especially in this day and age of college football at the skill positions.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I think that the thing that's being missed a lot is that when Coach Prime brings in transfers, people think that those are only 4th, 5th, 6th year guys. And I think they've actually, for the level of or the amount of transfers they've brought in, I think they've done a pretty good job with class balance. But obviously you're always going to want to add those high caliber players. And I think they did a pretty good job last year of getting those guys, even though it wasn't vast in the number of players they got. They kind of focused in on the few guys they really wanted that were high caliber, and knowing that they wanted, they still had a lot of work to do in the transfer portal because, of what you said, they still had a lot of work to do with the roster.
Yeah. And they're building it. I see it happening. And I think once Coach Prime kind of puts a couple of these data points together and people see what he's building, I think it'll be easier to recruit at the high school level. I think there's a lot of question marks at the high school level right now, and they want to see Coach Prime kind of set up shop at Colorado and remain there. And if he does those things, I think he'll start recruiting it a lot better. I think they'll start coming. They're coming.
Yeah, you got it. Josh, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming in. Are you a EA college football 25 guy? Which team you playing with?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm from Tampa Bay area, so the USF Bulls will be making a championship run once I can get my hands on franchise mode.
Maybe like Matt Grothy Jr. in charge.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I wanted to ask you guys. So out of On3, Rival, all the 24/7 sports, who is the biggest Colorado Buffs hater? Which outlet?
I would have to say Rivals right now.
You would know better than me because I don't know where. I just know the names.
I don't want to throw out names out here, but I've seen Rivals recruiting director taking blatant shots at the program, just misinformation. So
I will say that I think a lot of the fan base felt that it was On3, at least until Wilt Fong came over, and so that would be my perception.
So On3, I mean, you have like a couple voices. You have mine, you have JD, and you have Andy Staples. I haven't come out and really bashed Colorado in any form or fashion.
No, you haven't.
JD's a very likable guy. I mean, look, JD's right there. He's great. I don't think he ever says a bad word about anybody. So unless it's Andy Staples, I don't understand where we love Colorado over here.
There are definitely other people at 247 at Rivals who are more upfront and have shows who are bigger haters than you guys. I will say that.
Okay.
I'll say that I'm open. I have an open heart, but I'm keeping my eyes on you guys.
That's fair. And let us know if we ever get out of line. Let us know, please.
We will. And if we don't, the chat will for sure.
All right. Well, hey, let's talk again. Summer recruiting is going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be some big time targets out there in Boulder. We're going to cover it all. So let's do this again.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for coming on, Josh. We'll talk soon, bro.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
We good?
Yep.
All right.
How was that?
I'm unconvinced.
Oh, man. I think Josh is spot on because I've been watching his stuff for a while, and I've watched him cover these recruiting battles. Like I said, he was on Cam Michael, he's on Boo Carter, all these. Jordan Seaton, and honestly, I can't remember a time where he straight up came out hating Colorado.
Yeah, I honestly can't keep track of that stuff. I think that I'm just tired of some of the like classic talking points like in-home visits and things like that. I do understand the ace in the hole kind of thing, where it's like if you pull it out, but I think it creates a slippery slope type of thing where it's like, okay, well, if you give that to one guy, then the next guy is going to say, oh, so I'm not as important as him. And so you kind of have to stick to your guns on this. I really don't think that Coach Prime has to do that. I can see why someone would say that there's value in it, but I don't know if he's. I can't keep track of this stuff. Who's a hater? Who's not? I know for a fact who is for sure a hater.
Yes.
The Bud Elliott's, the Danny Cannells, and stuff like that. But
Adam Gorney.
Like I said, I've got an open mind. I've got an open heart. I try to not have much hate in my heart, but I have a lot right now. So I'm trying to offload some of it. But I'm keeping this emoji. That's how I'm watching On3. I'm giving him a chance, but I'm keeping an eye.
I do think he has a point, though. I mean, it's a quarterback, and this is a 5-star guy who has been being touted as next up. Like, I think that if you want to make sure you get Juju, you're going to have to go to some extra lengths. And if that is an in-home visit from Coach Prime, I think a lot of recruits would understand that this was Julian Lewis. This was the quarterback of the future for the program. I don't think 4-star corners and safeties are going to start expecting Coach Prime to come to their high school if he goes and sees Juju.
It's not that they're necessarily expecting it, but then you set a precedent of we only do the in-home visit for the ones that we value the most. And so if you don't do it, then someone can say, well, you don't care enough about me to do it, but you did care enough about Juju.
I just think it's different. It could be different for a 5-star quarterback, though. Like, I get that.
No, yeah. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's going to happen. So I don't think we have to go through that talking point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that On3 is making an effort. They certainly extended an olive branch to us. So I have an open mind.
All right. Shout out. Do you want to shout out True Fan Travel?
Shout out to True Fan Travel. If you are a true fan and you want to travel with us, well, it's right there in their name. They can do it. This is going to be sick because we are going to Nebraska. We are going to UCF. We want you guys to come hang out with us. You can tell Jake to his face that you don't think he's standing on business. And we can have some beers and drinks and have a great time and watch the Buffs win. So you can now go to truefantravel.com and place down a deposit to come with us. We aren't selling the game tickets on its own, which we've never done. But we will have a tailgate ticket package, tailgate ticket flight package, tailgate ticket flight hotel package, or any of the mix there. So it should be amazing. Make sure you guys come. It's going to be fun.
TrueFanTravel.com/trips to book your spot today. Be on the lookout for more road trips brought to you by True Fan Travel. And then also shout out Bet365. They are literally my favorite book to bet on. SGPs for the Nuggets and Avs, futures, all that stuff. They've been giving out a ton of free bets. And they've got a few offers you can take advantage of right now. One being deposit $10, place a $5 bet or more, and you get $150 in bonus bets just like that. It's a great way to build your bankroll off the top. And it's just fun, you know. You don't have to risk too much, and you get some more extra bets.
There you go.
You must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Shout out Bet365.
Shout out.
All right. We will get to the news in segment 3. Ethan Boyd, Isreal Solomon, Victory Johnson, Tyler Brown. But we're going to do another Bet365 top 5 today.
All right. I didn't know we were doing this. You didn't tell me we had the clearance.
Yes.
Don't throw your hands up at me. I sent you the idea, and then you said I'll ask, and then you never told me the finality of it all.
We're doing it.
All right, this is going to be a tough draft. Well, it's not a draft.
It's not a
top
draft.
5.
Yes,
but it is going to be a tough list to create.
It will. I've got some ideas though.
All right,
this is
the Bet365 top 5 things that are very mid at best. Now, Jake, this is confusing because it has to be something that's the best of things that are very mid at best.
I have
and
one.
There are going to be some people that don't like my takes.
That's fair enough. One thing that comes to mind that I would put on this list: hamburger, no cheese.
I cannot believe you said that.
Why?
Because that was my number one.
Was it really?
I was just gonna say burgers, and I knew people were gonna hate that. I cannot believe you said that.
Really?
Number one thing that to me that is very mid at best is a hamburger.
Yeah.
But it's the best thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Of things that are very mid at best.
Yeah. I mean, you'd rather have cheese on it. You'd rather maybe have bacon or something on it. But if you just get a regular hamburger, you're maybe kind of disappointed, but you start eating it and you're like, it's a hamburger.
Very mid at best. All right, well, you took my number one. Do you have a number 2?
This is one that might offend people. Drake.
Oh, wow. You can't do this today.
I'm just saying.
Wow. Wow, and you can't have hip hop takes.
I just threw it out there, man. It's an idea. How about and this is another one that might get me hated on in the chat. Marvel movies. Like
I'm starting to realize this might have been a bad idea. I think I'm in on it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't really love movies all that much.
Exactly.
As a whole. What about soda?
Like Sprite?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, again, these aren't bad things.
No.
They're just very mid. They're the best things that are very mid.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. What else you got? I kind of like hearing yours because I feel like you're already in trouble and the chat's just ready to pounce on you.
Professional baseball?
Good one. That's a good one. I like
you.
that one. Especially as the Rockies are on pace for being the worst baseball team ever.
Yeah.
By the way, I like Drake. I'm out on that one.
I like old Drake, but if you put it all together...
I didn't even know you knew enough about Drake to have this opinion.
Last time I really listened to Drake was Views.
What's
your
that
favorite?
was like 10 years ago.
Yeah. What's your favorite Drake album?
Oh, man. I liked Views.
It was all right. I liked If You're Reading This Is Too Late.
Okay, is that the one right before that?
I think so. That one and oh god, the one with his like head on it in the clouds. Can't remember what it's called.
I don't know anyone's albums, to be honest. NBA regular season, no. I'm just reading the comments. Baseball, I'm in on baseball as a whole. What else? I'm trying to look at some things. Oh, I've got one. This one will be very very controversial. Vodka as a hard alcohol.
See, that one that offends me.
Yeah,
because vodka's my favorite. It's just extremely versatile. Extremely versatile.
It's versatile, but I don't know. It's the only there are some people who would drink it straight. But it's probably last on the list of ones that you would drink.
I got one. How about spring football?
That hurt. That's gonna hurt the people, but it is probably true.
But it's true. Like you've talked about it. It's like a tease. You know what I mean?
It's a huge tease.
Like you get to see. You have press conferences. You get to see practices. You have a spring game, but it's also kind of underwhelming the whole time. And I love it. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, Saturday ends and it's like, all right, well, now we have 3 months of nothing.
Yeah. Very mid at best.
Ooh, Connor says camping as a vacation.
No, terrible take. Camping is very different. Obviously, it's a very different type of vacation, but I'm in it. I'm in on it. I would say Adidas.
Sure.
But that's because I'm a Nike shill.
How about the Dallas Cowboys?
Wow. See, now you're just good. Now, don't become a heel on us now, Jake.
No, everyone needs to relax. First off, I feel like I've stood on business a lot this week.
You just went after the second biggest city that watches this show.
They know.
That's crazy. I was thinking of going down the road of calling out someone's team, but I was on the Spaces last night, and I told everyone that my beef with the Lakers is over until the next time we played.
Will, shout out to Will in the comments. He says
we're not saying the name of that business for free.
Post COVID era fast casual burrito places bowls.
That isn't
illegal Pete's because they're goated. I got a bowl yesterday from there and it was amazing.
Yeah. How about just post COVID fast food as a whole?
Yeah, definitely. Prices have gone up. Quality's gone down.
Harold said Colorado State football. Calling them very mid at best might be the nicest thing anyone's ever said about them.
That's a compliment.
That mid is such a compliment to them. I don't know what we're doing here. All right, I think did we hit enough?
I mean, I feel like we could build a top 5 from what we just threw out.
Yeah.
Ooh, one more. Professional football leagues that aren't the NFL. Very mid at best.
Yeah, and even that feels kind of complimentary.
Yeah. Sorry, I think who's it? King Mars, who's trying to get me to watch UFL. Sorry, man.
Things that are very mid at best. What about anything that's the color khaki?
Now we're just taking shots.
No, I really didn't mean that to be a Harbaugh shot. I truly don't own a single pair of khaki pants, and I never have.
That's crazy. Trying to think what else. Like video game wise, Call of Duty, I'd probably throw in there.
Food would have been, honestly, Nebraska. That is more in line with things that are very mid at best.
Yep.
I would say that's fitting for them. Very mid at best.
I'll say it in Call of Duty, very mid at best these days.
That's controversial.
I think I'm right on that.
I haven't
one.
played it since I was in college, so I wouldn't know.
It's gone way downhill. It's very mid at best.
All right.
Here's a good one. 8 p.m.
Oh.
Ooh, great one, Connor. Even though that's actually pretty bad.
The hard thing for me is that I love it if I don't have to work afterwards, because I love the extended tailgate for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Working after it is way below mid. Way below. But I understand why people don't like it, especially because we have such a large fan base now that is in the east side of the country.
Lone Wolf just straight up says Colorado haters are mid, and I kind of agree. They just reuse the same shit over and over and over. We're not even creative anymore.
Too complimentary. They're trash.
That is true.
All right, let's move on.
That was fun.
It was. Green Creole's on our next today, but I respect her. She always has good takes.
Ooh, what about Will? Golfing in windy conditions.
Oh, as a big golf guy, I couldn't agree more. I love golf so much, but I'm a fair weather golfer.
Ketchup, I'd say, is in there.
But ketchup is, like, for me, a necessity on certain things.
Yeah, for sure. But it's not the universal on everything condiment.
No,
a lot of people make it out to be.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Winter, I'm on that.
Winter, that's a good one.
Someone said, let's get mid at best t-shirts. The only thing about that, because I think that would be funny, is, like, no one wants to have that brandished across their chest.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
what are
you're
you doing, calling yourself?
Be very mid at best.
Shout out Circle K. Circle K, if you are listening, we need your help.
I didn't know we were doing a whole segment out of that.
I thought that's what we were doing. I told you I liked it.
All right, let's go. Circle K.
Shout out Circle K. We need your help. We've lost 2 gas stations near the DNVR bar. There's one way down Colfax. It's a walk. I'd rather just have one closer, so please save us. Come in. But they're the best. Whether you're on the road or just picking up a few things across the street, snacks, drinks, gas, all that good stuff. And you can sign up today for their Inner Circle program. Your first 5 fill-ups, I think, are 20 cents, 10 cents. You get a discount on your first 5 fill-ups. Every 6 item free on tons of things in the store. Sign up with the QR code on the screen right there, or visit circlek.com/inner-circle for more info on how to become an Inner Circle member.
I don't think mine's updated.
Illegal Pete's.
Oh, well, that's easy. Shout out Illegal Pete's. I am quite hungry, and Illegal Pete's sounds amazing right now. You got to check it out when you're in town. Go down to Illegal Pete's. Get in on any of their delicious, fast, casual Mexican food. Steak queso burrito. I had one after the Avs game the other day when I was a little tuned up, and it just hits so hard.
I'm kind of on the bowl train now.
Ooh, bowl guy.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Anyways, whatever you love, they've got it. The queso is out of this world, so go check it out.
Scroll up real quick, Alyssa. I thought I saw a good one.
All right.
No, sriracha, that's not mid. That's goat tier. Keep going. I thought
Isn't
I saw
sriracha just like gone?
something. It was for a bit.
Are they back to producing?
I think. I don't know.
I think like one of their plants got shut down because the smell was too intense.
I think so.
Well,
Like
I heard
the people that were living around there were getting just like poisoned by sriracha
lungs
smell
were just on
all day.
fire. I heard that there was like a heat wave towards the end of COVID that wiped out a bunch of the actual peppers, and that's why we were in a shortage.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to give respect to David, who said, well, I am mid at best. Like, that's hilarious. But I bet you're better than mid. All right. Let's move on.
We got some news to get to. We did get a commitment, as Josh said when we talked to him. Ethan Boyd, former Michigan State offensive tackle, played in all 12 games last year, started 3 at right tackle for the Spartans. This is a big, big boy. 6'7", I believe 326 is what he's listed at. He was going into his redshirt junior season. This was a 2021 recruit. At least depth, but he started at the Big Ten level at right tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. A monster for sure. And again, I talked about this and it's always hard to have these conversations because I don't want to put anyone in a box. He could absolutely come in, ball out, and win a starting job. But it's a very difficult thing right now to go and find depth in the portal. I think it's a challenge for everyone around the country who's saying, well, we need a backup X, Y, or Z. But I think the Buffs have done a pretty darn good job of going and find guys who are willing to come in and compete and aren't going to say, I'm not coming there unless you guarantee me a starting spot, because we know damn well Coach Prime is not guaranteeing anyone's starting spot.
Right.
So you go and get guys with upside who have a chance to start at, whether it's now or later. But I mean, the dude has all the size in the world and has, played in the Big Ten. That's a guy that I want on my team.
So he committed on Instagram. That's where he announced. When he did that, Derek Harmon comments under the post, fire emojis.
Yeah.
He On3 reported yesterday it's down to 5 teams, or I think it might have been today.
And did we even? I think this happened after Juju commenting on the RJ Johnson. Did we talk about that yesterday?
No, we did not. But yeah, he did do that.
Okay, we'll stick with Harmon for now. They asked me in Spaces last night if to rank my confidence on Derek Harmon, and I said 7.5 to 8, somewhere in there. So like I'm confident. I wouldn't call him a Buffs lock at this point, but it feels like the Buffs are doing really good work and the message is resonating with Derek Harmon. The schools that they're going up against are like, it's going to be a battle. But I feel good. I feel good about where we stand. And that's a great sign.
Those schools are Ohio State, Oregon, USC, Colorado, and then Pete Nakos of On3 today reported a return to Michigan State is also on the table.
Okay.
So we'll see. Speaking of that,
Michigan State found some money under the couch.
Yeah, well, yeah. Speaking of that, and not to pick at old wounds here. Remember Marshawn Nealand?
Yes.
He went like top of the second round in the draft or something like that.
What draft?
The draft that happened last week.
The NFL draft.
The NFL draft.
Holy shit, I did not know that.
Yeah, he was a highly, highly touted prospect.
Wow, good for him.
Yep.
That was what you wanted to tell me?
I just wanted to bring it up.
I thought that was like a segue into something else.
No.
I want to talk a little bit more about Juju.
Go ahead.
Obviously, you saw the comment yesterday. You've seen the towels. You've heard the buzz. You've heard people like Josh Newberg and the national recruiting people mentioning his name in Colorado in the same sentence.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you can officially call this a dogfight between Colorado and USC.
Yep.
This has reached dogfight territory, and I am so excited about it. And I think that there is an opportunity for CU fans to help this along, and so I'm cooking on it. Mm-hmm. But I think that this is the level of player that you, as a fan base, do anything you can to get.
I agree.
And that doesn't mean like acting weird and like spamming their Twitter or something like
Right.
that. But like something along the lines of like us like rallying together and like being like a huge group of fans being on campus when he's there, like chanting his name, like stuff like that is legitimately worth it for a high caliber player at the quarterback position.
I mean, look, man, you still have to flip them.
Yeah.
I think you've got to pull out all the stops and honestly push it over the edge if you really want Juju. The fan base, the coaching staff, maybe even us. So
yeah. David said, he said, I'm really worried about Juju using Colorado to drive up the NIL offer from USC. You never know. And as we've learned time and time again, high school recruiting, very fickle. But I really don't think that's the case here. I think that Juju and his dad are very, very interested in coming to Colorado.
I agree.
And it's going to be fun to see how it goes. I also firmly believe that Juju Lewis might be the perfect fit for Colorado at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The future of this program is obviously all about Coach Prime, but he's going to need that next guy, the next person to come in and kind of be under his wing and be the co-star. You know, like right now it's Coach Prime, it's Travis, and it's Shedeur. That's what Colorado's all about. I think that Juju is the perfect fit to be in that next group.
And the relationship with Shedeur, I think that's something that is going to loom large in this recruitment, and I think it's something that could help ease his transition to being that type of figure at Colorado. Obviously, Shedeur is Coach Prime's son, but that's the guy that you want to learn from to be the best guy to run Coach Prime's program, basically, at quarterback.
Yep. And I'm interested to see how this works out, because I agree with the idea that he's going to want to commit early.
He's already committed.
He's going to want to have a final decision early and not kind of drag this out to the end because of what Josh was talking about when it comes to you are the crown jewel of the class, and then guys will follow you, and you obviously want that because you want the best players on your team. I also think that he's going to want to see what happens with Pat Shurmur and Shedeur. And maybe it's he decommits from USC at some point or commits to Colorado. But, obviously Shedeur has nothing but great things to say about Pat Shurmur, and, he's going to pass those things on to Juju. But I'm sure he's going to want to see what the offense looks like in practice,
right.
not in at practice, but when it's actually in action. And so I'm curious to how he balances that.
I think that, because you said you think he's going to make a decision earlier rather than later. I think he might take this, and Josh said it too, might take it as far as he can. I think he wants to see how this season turns out for Colorado and USC both, because I think they're both in interesting spots in terms of their trajectory.
But that goes against what Josh was saying about, using your power as the quarterback of the class as well.
That's fair.
To bring in more high level players. And from what I've heard, he has a nice little Rolodex of guys who want to roll with him.
Yep. That's fair.
So it'll be interesting. Maybe he commits to Colorado with like the idea that he wants to see how it plays out, and no matter what, if you get him to commit in June, if you think that USC is just going to pack up shop and head out of town and move on to the next, you're crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be, no matter what it is, this could be a battle to the end.
I mean, the big weekend's June 21st through the 23rd. He's already come out here a few times, but this is the official visit. This is the big one. So we'll see. I pulled an all-time jinx yesterday.
Uh-oh.
Talked about Isreal Solomon. Get off the show. He enters the transfer portal. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously he was a walk-on. But he certainly earned the respect of Coach Prime. And a lot of his teammates as well. And, we had, like Neely and stuff. Everyone had great things to say about him. I know a lot of people were saying, man, we should have offered him a scholarship to get him to stay.
Yeah.
But I almost think, and I'm not against that necessarily, but I'm not in charge of the scholarships.
Right.
I almost think that this is like the perfect kind of advertisement for why you come to Colorado and accept your role as a depth player.
Absolutely.
Isreal Solomon comes here. He works his ass off. He gets into the kind of limelight through Well Off and Reach the People and the pregame show, and builds a name for himself. And then presumably gets an offer to be on scholarship somewhere else once he goes in the portal. We obviously don't know. I hope that's the case of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a positive here for Colorado, which is like you can almost use that case as why guys should come here and start their career.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And he's a guy who, he moved around, I think, a few high schools. He came into Colorado injured. I think he got hurt his final year of high school as well. So he just, took a chance on the program. Program took a chance on him. And this is a guy he should have been highly touted. He was IMG's defensive captain his senior year also. When he was on the field, he was extremely productive. And he was very impressive in the spring game, too. I think he's going to land on his feet. I hope he gets a much better opportunity, and he's elevated because of his time here at Colorado, and he should be because the kid can play.
Absolutely. Just because this just came across my Twitter feed, I'll pass this along. John Snelson, the GOAT, tweeted out, any CU students that have strong video editing experience, long form plus short form, and want to work with the CU football creative next year, hit him up. So hit up John Snelson on Twitter if you are in that group. What a cool opportunity that would be to get to work up close and personal as a student with the team and create awesome content.
I mean, they're the best in the game. They really are. Victor Johnson has also entered the transfer portal. We talked about him a little bit this offseason. I spoke to him at Pro Day. He told me he was switching over to the edge. I don't think he was even available to practice during the spring with an injury also. But he was one of those guys, he was committed to the program before Coach Prime was hired, was able to hold on to his offer, comes into the team, still kind of figuring out exactly where he fits defensively on the field. But we wish him the best. He was always very cool. I liked him a lot.
Absolutely.
Tyler Brown has won Lifter of the Year or Spring for Colorado, which is probably the least surprising thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I mean, probably had to be a close battle between him and Block Bully.
Yeah.
Although Block Bully said Torian Carter
Yep.
lifts even heavier than him.
Yep.
So what a battle between those guys. I'm sure there's a couple other guys that were in that mix that I'm not mentioning off the top of my head. But shout out to Tyler, dude. He is a one-of-a-kind person and player.
Yep.
And no matter what, I'll be rooting him for forever. Wow, rooting for him for forever. That's a lot of four sounds.
His family's just dope, man. I love them all.
Yeah, truly.
Excited to see what he does this year. That's all I got today.
All right.
To the Toyota chat for questions. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Mr. Hillsman, $10 super chat. Shout out to all the DNVR folks behind the scenes. Of course, love Jake and RK. Thank you, Mr. Hillsman. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Mr. Hillsman, as always.
Devin Braxton says, On3, this take is stupid. Prime gave this kid structure and a chance to grow. Prime did not give up on McClain. McClain gave up on them. Nick Saban himself stood up for his players. It's on the player. I feel like there's conflicting messages in there, but I'm probably just misunderstanding it.
Thank you, Devin.
I don't think anyone... Yeah. Coach Prime did not give up on Cormani McClain.
Coach Prime really tried with Cormani.
I mean, I think I said this earlier on the show. He pressed every button.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to press every button. Anything he could do to try and get through. And that's what great coaches do, is try to find how each guy should be coached.
Mm-hmm.
And every guy is different. Now, obviously, as a coach, you're going to have your principles and certain things that you won't budge on. but you try to get through to them in different ways. And unfortunately, it just didn't click for Cormani. Mr. Hillsman says, yeah, Nick Saban is a celebrity, but if you think the logistical nightmare and buzz for Deion and Saban are the same, I don't care, or I don't know, and I'm not a Deion superfan. I agree. I mean, we've talked about this a million times. I really don't think that Coach Prime has to do in-home visits. And I also think that while Nick Saban is his own, monument, Coach Prime is different. And I can't remember who said it, but someone said during the last time that this all came up, like, if Coach Prime came to my neighborhood when I was in high school, the whole neighborhood would have been lined up outside of my house. And that's just a different level. Like, I've talked about this before. I didn't truly understand celebrity at that level until meeting and being around Coach Prime. I mean, the perfect example is at Super Bowl Radio Row.
Yep. Super
Bowl Radio Row, where every big media person in the country is there, and then every big sports, figure is in the place too. You've got J.J. Watt walking by, and you've got Saquon Barkley, and you've got, like Patrick Mahomes. And when Coach Prime walks in the room, everyone stops.
Yep.
Everyone's heads turning. There's a little buzz on it. Oh, Coach Prime.
Yeah.
That's one of a kind level stardom. And with the most due respect to Nick Saban, a legendary coach, it wouldn't be like that. It's not a drop everything type of thing. In fact, I've seen Nick Saban at the Senior Bowl. And while it's a cool thing, everyone's like, oh shit, that's Nick Saban. Right. It's not the like everyone's head turns and then all of a sudden there's a people following. Like when Coach Prime walks around a Super Bowl Radio Row, people are just randomly following him. I don't even know if they know why.
Yep.
They're just like, oh, I want to see what he's doing. I want to go listen to his thing. So there's only a few people like that. And like I said, Coach Prime's the only one that I've seen up close and personal, but I assume LeBron, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, are that level. But you can't compare Coach Prime to other coaches because there's no one like him.
Coach Prime knows Coach Prime best. And he said basically what you just explained when he was sitting in front of the media earlier this spring, saying about, if I do that, I have to go to everyone, blah, blah, blah. And I think he knows that it'd be a total commotion if he were to show up small town Georgia or wherever.
Yeah.
Mr. Hillsman again, Denzel Washington has a perfect example for what RK is saying. He told the guy, if everyone else agrees, I can take a picture with you, but not with them, then I will take it. Guess what the crowd said?
If everyone agrees I can take a picture with you, but not with them, then I will take it. Oh, okay. So Denzel Washington's in a crowd. Someone asked him to take a picture, and he says, if everyone else around here agrees that I'll take a picture with you, but not with them, I'll do it. Of course. The crowd said, no. Which kind of messed up. If I was in the crowd, I would have said yes. But that gets the point across.
Yeah.
And it does, I think there would be some sort of negative impact. I personally haven't seen high school coaches coming out against Coach Prime. No, I can't say I follow a lot of high school coaches on Twitter.
Maybe that's the next thing I ask all these coaches then.
But it's one of those things where it's like someone would catch feelings and be tweeting about it, and they would get their 15 minutes of viral fame on Twitter for talking shit about Coach Prime.
That's true. Rev BJ Nelson says, RK is a real one for real.
Thanks, Rev.
I'm Heaven's Demon says, thoughts on General Booty hitting the portal today?
Is General Booty the quarterback version of the phrase very mid at best?
I think he was a decently rated recruit.
I just mean, like, if you called someone General Booty, it's pretty much very mid at best.
I mean, that's what that means.
He's just General Booty. I don't know.
Mr. Hillsman says,
with all due respect to the player. I'm sure he's heard it all.
Oh, that kid's elementary school life must have been hell.
Yeah.
He says, I'm in Denver next week, so I got to get the Ralphie from DNVR, something from Illegal Pete's. What else?
So you got to get the Ralphie from DNVR and then wait 6 days. No, please don't do that. Somehow I feel like Unk dodged a bullet. What else do you need to get while you're here? So my favorite restaurant is a place called Uncle. And they do ramen there. And it is out of this world. Also, they have soft shell crab buns that for me are like life changing. Let's see. La Loma is like classic Colorado Mexican food. Some people, there's takes about it, but I think it's fantastic. And the green chili is amazing. So if you want to try green chili, that's the one I would say. And then there's a place by the bar called Spice Room that I think has fantastic Indian food. And I'll give one more. There's a place called Hop Alley, which you would think would be a beer place, but it's actually not. It's like upscale Chinese food, and it absolutely slaps.
Still haven't been there. I'm going to try and go this summer. I have to. Sandra says Coach Prime will do a home visit. It just won't go public. Of course, he did one for Jordan, Cormani, and Travis. Please think about it. Travis is the #1 player in the country. Juju is coming.
Now, that's an interesting take.
I mean, I don't know if he did actually do them, though.
But what she's saying is if he did, we wouldn't even know because
That's
of what
the
we were
way
all
to
just
do it.
talking
Yeah,
about it.
for
So
sure.
it's like secret home visit? Maybe. King Mar said, definitely not eating soft shell crab. Have you had it, though?
Lil Boy Fresh Cash says, is that a Jimmy Horn Jr. shirt?
Oh, didn't mean to show you my stomach. Yes, it's a Jimmy Horn Jr. shirt. It's actually so sick. Like I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but like this is like supposed to kind of look like diamonds. It's got multiple pictures of Jimmy, and you guys almost just got DNVR After Dark.
We don't need that. Harvey says, have we had Coach Carl Reed on the show yet? No, but he's one we should get.
Yeah, and we talked to Neely about having both of them and kind of, because Neely already has that relationship. So would love to do it at some point.
RK, how do you feel about Spaces?
I love it, man. I honestly think it's really cool. It's just not something that has ever really existed before, at least that I know of, where just like a bunch of people can get together and talk about something. And I thought it was really cool. There was a hilarious moment last night because I was on there for like probably an hour, not paying attention to my phone battery. And one of the guys in there asked me like, hey, how do you feel about safety and corner depth? And I was like, I don't love to have to tap into depth ever. But I think, the 2 deep is okay. And he said, okay, well, what's your 2 deep at safety? And then right then my phone died. And I went back and listened to the end of it, and they were just crushing him because they thought I left because I didn't like the question.
Oh gosh.
And it was actually hilarious, but it's the Spaces is cool. It honestly reminds me of like going to the barber shop and everyone's just, talking over each other and, talking shit and getting their takes off. And I think it's great.
It's cool. I think you just got to be a little careful in there.
For sure. For sure. And
that's what scares me.
Honestly, it's true because of what I was just talking about. That vibe of it where it's like, oh, we're just hanging out and talking.
Right.
You can sometimes forget that like, oh, this is all being recorded. And if you say something wild, as we saw a couple weeks ago, it's going to get screen recorded and posted. Thankfully for me, the only thing that I've said so far that got screen recorded and posted was support 5430.
Right.
But honestly, I was dying listening to the end of that. And it's actually interesting if you want to touch on it briefly. Shiloh and Cam. Yeah. That's your first wave.
Right.
I think Carter Stoutmeyer.
Okay.
Next after that. And then like Herman Smith, RJ Johnson.
Really well. Yeah.
Anyone else you want to throw into
that? Trevor maybe.
So we were talking about Trevor too, and it feels like Trevor is still playing linebacker.
He's not going to start over Nakai Hill-Green, though.
I don't think so either. But I mean, I would almost feel bad for Trevor. It's like he had to move down to linebacker because they were weak, they're thin there at the end of last season, moving back. But I mean, my thoughts on Trevor. I would absolutely trust him if he had to go into a game and play it.
I think he's at this point. Why not? I mean, we've got Travis, but I feel like the slot would be a better spot for him at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about that too. Like you could use him in like a big nickel situation and play him in the slot from there.
Just looking through here. Ben Finiseth, maybe? Does he get on the field this year at safety?
Yeah, I don't think so. But I would,
What about 3-6 Mafia, Nathaniel Watson? That dude's been balling.
He has been kind of balling. So my answer in the spaces would have been like, I think there's still an open spot there, but no one that, would scare me.
Definitely.
If you do and you have the right pieces around on your defense, if you have to dig into your depth at one or two spots, you should be able to sustain it.
I mean, it sounds like, just from talking about this, just my feelings, there's big plans for RJ Johnson then.
Yeah. That would be great.
Don Peasy with the super chat. This is truly the greatest college sports show on YouTube. Everyone involved should be up for an award. Real talk, this is a great thing. Thank you so much, man.
I don't know if everyone feels that way today specifically.
Right.
But hey, just on that note, I think it's cool for us to try things, we don't have to go too deep into it, but it's like, you can have people on. Sometimes everyone will love them and you knock it out of the park. Sometimes everyone will hate them. Sometimes you'll have a guest on who everyone loves and then they say and talk shit about you behind your back and then everyone hates them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we're always like, especially if people reach out to us, I'm open to having people on here unless they are, a true hater.
So look,
I shouldn't say a true. I should say a unabashed hater.
So here's the thing with this. We get a lot of people that talk about us, talk about what we say on this show, how we do this show a lot. And one of the biggest criticisms I've seen is people say we're too biased. So why not bring some people in who are more neutral, more unbiased, try and share some of that side. Also, when it comes to On3 too, like they are so plugged in with these recruits and stuff. Like I feel like that stuff could only benefit our show.
Yeah. And someone said like they're just trying to use you guys for inside scoop. That media doesn't give other media.
And we've been on each other's show at this point already. So,
but that's okay. It's like, it is what it is. No one has to come away from this saying they love On3.
Right.
And no one has to come away from this saying they love today's show.
But I think there was some good information that Josh shared today too.
And I think some people probably did really like it. But I understand all perspectives on this.
Lawrence says, salute to Prime's Twitter army. Nothing gets past him. On3 is still wishy-washy in my honest opinion. Salute to you guys for always standing on business. Thank you.
Like I said, I've got my eyes on them.
Don Peasy with the super chat. Prime is ahead of his time and both exercises and understands that all publicity is good publicity. Recruits don't CC you the same way the public does. That's 100%. Well, first off, just the Twitter perception or like the social media online perception of this program could not be further from the truth.
Oh,
I cannot stress that enough.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned since about 2018, maybe even earlier than that, is that Twitter is in no way a representation of the real world.
Absolutely not. I'd throw in, Reddit and all that stuff in there too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Twitter's the one for me because I spend a hell of a lot of time on there.
Yeah, same.
But you can kind of fall into this rabbit hole of believing, okay, if this is how Twitter feels, this is how people feel. Mm-hmm. And it couldn't be further from the truth. There's about 1 million examples of why, if you only pay attention to Twitter, you would have the wrong perception of how people feel about things. And obviously Twitter has been incredibly anti Colorado over the last 2 days, besides of course the people here and the people who really know what's up that are standing on business. But to me it feels like there's been more from the other side for sure. And you're completely right to say that is simply not even close to how people in Buford, Georgia, or Stillwater, Oklahoma, or somewhere, like Dallas, Texas, feel about this program. It's a tricky little thing because you can fall into thinking that that's how public perception is on the internet, but it's really not. And recruits, more than anything, see that level of attention and that level of platform, to use a word that Nakai Hill-Green used, and say, man, that kind of seems fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking last night, can you imagine having the power to dominate the entire conversation for a whole sport, and it even transcended the sport with one post that Shedeur Sanders had?
That wasn't even an insult. It was...
And, I saw Keyshawn talking about this, and he had a similar take to me, which is like, at least the way it started, it's like it's a couple of football players talking mess.
Yeah.
And like, Caleb jumping in and people are like, this is classless. It's like, have you ever just like been around other people? Have you ever competed in anything in your life? Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't talk shit when you're like, I don't know, hooping at the rec center or like, it's so normal. Yeah. And because of, I think, the way that everyone is just waiting for Coach Prime to do something they can jump on, or Sanders to do something that they can jump on, it just got so blown out of proportion that everything kind of trickled down and just blew up. But it is funny that it just started with like a college football player chirped another college football player. Yeah. That's enough to shut the whole damn thing down for 2 days? Yep. It's crazy.
It is wild, man. Gotta love college football. Is that it, Alyssa? This was a fun week of shows, all said and done.
Oh yeah,
it was a lot. It was stressful at times, but it was really good, I thought.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if I would use the word stressful. It was definitely, for me. It was overwhelming for me at times. Of just like, oh my God, everyone has something to say right now. Like my Twitter mentions yesterday were an absolute unmitigated disaster. But it's kind of fun.
It is fun. I mean, I
wouldn't like to do it every day.
Exactly. That's my thing. It's like, once day 2 hit, I was like, I don't know if I like this too much right now.
And not to get too deep here. Imagine how it feels to be a Sanders.
Exactly. Yes.
That kind of, they do kind of have to do this every day.
Yeah.
And if you go look at any time any of them post anything, there are just thousands of people hating and just saying the most out of pocket bullshit to them all the time. And so when you think of it that way, you can imagine how after a certain amount of time you would say enough is enough.
Yep. So shout out to everyone who watches this show, who listens to this show, who's in the comments, who's riding with us on Twitter, whatever it is, because y'all know what's up. And I appreciate y'all a ton. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Let's go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.